Hey guys, Jason here, and as many of you have probably seen, Prime Minister Netanyahu recently gave a speech to Congress here recently. And there were many different speculations on why he gave it, when he did. As a matter of fact, President Obama says this.
We think it's a mistake for the Prime Minister of any country to come to speak before Congress a few weeks before they're about to have an election. It makes it look like we are taking sides. I don't think it's permanently destructive. I think that it is a distraction from what should be our focus. And our focus should be, how do we stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon?
And then after I listened to that, I was like, And then I found this. Rudy Giuliani says this.
Inviting Prime Minister Netanyahu to speak before Congress at this juncture, a good idea?
Yes, this is not the first time he's been invited, and I don't know why this has become such a fuss. I mean, the fact is, the Prime Minister has addressed Congress before. He's been invited to address Congress before.
Not before elections in Israel.
Well, I'm not sure John Boehner and John McCain and the people in America really focused on the American elections. What you should know is that right now the Congress is holding hearings on Iran. So this would be the perfect time to ask him to come in and speak, testify, whatever. We just had 4 generals testify, 3 former secretaries of state. So I think this is more their schedule than his schedule.
And when I heard those different perspectives, I was like, well, let me just listen to what he says.
I know that my speech has been the subject of much controversy. I deeply regret that some perceive my being here as political. That was never my intention.
Now, before Netanyahu spoke, President Obama said this.
Let's start right on Israel. Your administration has described Prime Minister Netanyahu's plans to address Congress tomorrow on Iran as destructive. What damage has really been done?
We actually share a goal, which is making sure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. That's something that I committed to when I was still a senator. It was a solemn pledge that I made before I was elected president, and everything that I've done over the course of the last several years in relation to Iran has been in pursuit of that policy.
Now, we know that it's controversial. We know that there's a lot of issues that are going on in the Middle East and with America. And hey, you know what? I'm just a thinking man. I'm just going to give you my perspective based on what I saw him say.
Many have tried repeatedly to destroy the Jewish people. Tomorrow night, on the Jewish holiday of Purim.
So I looked it up. What's Purim? It's a Jewish holiday that they celebrate actually March 4th of this year, right after his speech. So I'm thinking maybe that has something to do with it. So I just decided to not listen to what the media was telling me and what other people were saying. And I decided I don't know, I'm just going to think for myself on this one. And so I was like, all right. And then he says this.
We'll read the book of Esther.
Esther? Only Esther I think about whenever I think of Esther is...
Ain't it funny how even the worst of heathens try to get righteous when they think the Lord is about to tap them on the shoulder? Listen, Esther, if I wasn't so sick, I would give you one of these across your ugly lips. Who you calling ugly, sucker?
So I decided to look it up. And what I found out was there's a book in the Bible, okay? Talks about a lady named Esther. Now, who was Esther? She was a very beautiful Jewish woman that was actually taken in by the king to be a part of his harem, okay? That's just it's like a group of side chicks, I guess, if you want to call it. But he decided to actually make Esther his main chick, okay? So he made her queen. Now, she had a cousin named Mordecai. So Mordecai was actually her cousin, but he actually raised her as if she was his own daughter. And he told her not to reveal her identity, that she was Jewish. So the king of Persia didn't know that she was Jewish. Now, so then there was this guy named Aman. Sometimes you read it, it looks like Haman, whatever you want to call him. So Aman, he actually couldn't stand Mordecai. He actually, because Mordecai said that he wasn't going to bow to Aman, who is the advisor of the king. He was just like, I ain't going to do that. So Aman decided that he actually wanted to kill all the Jewish people. So he actually had a plan to kill all the Jewish people. So Mordecai goes to Esther and he's just like, yo, you got to do something about this. He actually persuaded her to actually go to the king to talk to him on the behalf of the Jewish people. Now, this was actually pretty dangerous, because if anyone went to the king without actually being summoned by the king, they could be actually put to death. So then Esther, she's like, oh no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Anyway, I don't know if she said that or not, but she fasted for 3 days before she actually went to the king. And when she went to him, you know, it wasn't as big as she was thinking it was gonna be. He's like, yo, what's up? He listened to her, and then he found out what Amon was actually planning on doing. So Amon was actually hung with his 10 sons in the gallows that were actually made from Mordecai.
Jewish woman, Queen Esther, exposed the plot and gained for the Jewish people the right to defend themselves against their enemies. The plot was foiled, our people were saved.
So looking at it from that perspective, you could possibly say that he is Mordecai coming to, we'll say, President Obama saying, yo, you know, well, maybe not, maybe the president isn't Esther. Maybe he's actually the king who can actually do something to stop Amon from doing something, from killing all the Jewish people. I don't know. Hey, I'm just thinking out loud here, okay? So then I listened to Netanyahu, and he said his name, Netanyahu, and he says this.
The Jewish people face another attempt by yet another Persian potentate to destroy us. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, spews the oldest hatred of anti-Semitism with the newest technology. He tweets that Israel must be annihilated. He tweets. You know, in Iran, there isn't exactly free internet.
And I'm like, what? This guy has Twitter? The head of Iran has Twitter? Now, he probably has, like, you know, like Kim Kardashian doesn't do her own Twitter, and a lot of celebrities don't, you know, control their own Twitter accounts. Amber Rose and Chloe, they actually do. I decided to look it up. I was like, this guy has Twitter? Let me look up what this guy says. Why should and how can Israel be eliminated? Ayatollah, his last name's answer to 9 key questions about elimination of Israel. The elimination of Israel. Dang, that's pretty deep, yo. Deep. Just eliminating everybody. As a matter of fact, then he mentioned this guy.
Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, Iran's chief terrorist proxy. He said, if all the Jews gather in Israel, it will save us the trouble of chasing them down around the world.
Saeed Hassan Nasrallah. Hey, I'm doing my best with these names, okay? Just bear with me. And this dude, check him out.
يحكون عن أمريكا الدولة المتحضرة. رضوان الله على الإمام الخميني لما سماها الشيطان الأكبر. لم تجدوا طوال التاريخ البشري دولة وقيادة متوحشة ونخبة متوحشة كما هو الحال الآن في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. لن تجدوا نخبة معادية للإنسانية وللبشرية كالنخبة الموجودة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. تفضلوا. بدينش يقتلوا الناس بالمفرق، بيقتلون بالجملة. هلا شو بدي بهيروشيما وناكازاكي وخلوا هذا على جنب. هاي شمة هوا قدام المستقبل اللي الإدارة الأمريكية ماخذ العالم عليه.
Death to America. Death to America. And then Benny says this.
This is why, as Prime Minister of Israel, I can promise you one more thing. Even if Israel has to stand alone, Israel will stand.
And it actually reminded me of something that Winston Churchill said. He said something very similar.
We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
Now, with Winston Churchill, he was calling out basically the West, us, America, hey, y'all gonna do something? Listen, we will fight alone if we have to, but we hope that you would come to our aid, come to our rescue to help end this war. And that was World War II. President Obama. I'm actually curious if he's gonna be the Winston Churchill or is he gonna be the Neville Chamberlain? Now, once again, I know you guys already know who Neville Chamberlain is, you know, because, hey, our public school system is on point. We teach our kids everything about history. See, because Neville Chamberlain, he actually thought that Hitler was telling the truth whenever he said that he wasn't gonna invade anymore. He wasn't gonna, listen, we got peace in our time. As a matter of fact, listen to what he says.
This morning, I had another talk with the German Chancellor, Herr Hitler. And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine. Some of you perhaps have already heard what it contains, but I would just like to read it to you. We, the German Führer and Chancellor, and the British Prime Minister have had a further meeting today and are agreed in recognizing that the question of Anglo-German relations is of the first importance for the two countries and for Europe. We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
And people bought it. People bought it. Winston Churchill was like, no, no. So, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do something? I don't know. I'm just breaking things down from a different perspective, and I just think about things from history. What can we learn from our history? So after the video, I'm looking at it like, okay. But what I did like is how at the very end, what he said about Moses.
Right up there in the gallery, overlooking all of us in this august chamber, is the image of Moses. Moses led our people from slavery to the gates of the Promised Land. And before the people of Israel entered the land of Israel, Moses gave us a message that has steeled our resolve for thousands of years. I leave you with his message today. Chizku v'imtzu, al tiru ve'al ta'artzu mipnehem. Be strong and resolute, neither fear nor dread them. My friends, may Israel and America always stand together, strong and resolute. May we neither fear nor dread the challenges ahead. May we face the future with confidence, strength, and hope. May God bless the state of Israel, and may God bless the United States of America.
What to do with this information? Listen, I'm not here to tell anybody to think one way or think another. I'm just here to just think a little bit. Think a little bit more, understand a little bit more, and if you have questions, just research it just a little bit. Because I know our public school system is on point. We teach our kids everything about history, so our kids know all about that.